Hello, this is Rebecca Freedom, and this is episode 8 on Heard Not Seen, produced by none other than John Beetham. And today we're going to talk about grief and loss. So I struggle with having a conversation about this topic because it's so heavy. It's a heavy, heavy place to visit, and sometimes it visits us. So specific to this topic, grief and loss, meaning if you have experienced a death of a loved one, that can include a pet. If you have a relationship that's failed or is in the process of failing, if you have been hired on at a job and either laid off or fired from that job, if you've previously been healthy and all of a sudden you're not for some reason, you're struggling with some chronic disease of some sort in your body, or all of a sudden you had this belief system that was running your life and it totally got changed, shifted for some reason, all of these will trigger grief and loss. So specifically, grief is best known in the world in the 5-stage process brought to us by Kubler-Ross. And that process is first, denial, just shock and awe, really. You just can't really process what's happened. So it's not denial as in turning away from or intentionally shutting down. It's just the system override. And then after the fog of denial lifts and the nervous system starts to come back on board, there can be the activation of anger, of this is not right, it's not fair, what if something else should have been done, something else could have been done. Blaming can often take place as a coping mechanism. And then the reality that that person is dead, it can't be undone. The firing can't be undone, really. It just has to turn into momentum forward, can lead from anger into sadness or depression. And depression in the grieving process is not necessarily clinical depression. It's acute, given a particular circumstance. Although for some, they'll stay in this particular place. And then after depression, there's bargaining that happens. And that's where you're like, well, the silver lining is that, I'm closer with my mom now because my sister passed away, or I didn't really like that job anyway. It opened the door for me to do my entrepreneurial thing, or whatever. The or starts to rise inside of you. There's some sort of bargaining. And when it comes to relationship, it sounds like, well, we can be friends. We can just be friends and try a different modality of relationship. And these are cycles. They don't ever, or stages, they cycle through. It's not just like one and then you complete it and then to the next and the next. And the arrival, the sort of culmination of these is acceptance. And I would really also say forgiveness is abandoning the hope that the past could have been any different than it was. That everything unfolded exactly as it should. There was a divine plan, that there was a karmic contract, that there was something meant to be about the way that things showed up. And Eckhart Tolle kindly shares with us the notion passed down from Buddha and other scripts that how do you know what is happening to you or around you in your life is what's supposed to happen to you, and that it's actually in your best and your highest good. And the simple answer is because that is what's happening. That's what's happening. So we can actually hold and sit in the seat of acceptance as a spiritual practice, as a daily practice, to let this grief move through and to not stop at any given juncture and not to dwell in it, to keep the mindset that everything is unfolding right on time. The universe has my back. God is for me, and therefore who can be against me? And so what I want to do in this podcast, and thank you for listening, is really give you the tools to discover the next step. Like, what do you do next? Like, what happens? Like, what happens after you experience the loss of somebody who was so integral to your life? And I just want to honor the passing of all of those in my life, my mom and my dad and my grandma and my grandpa, and known and unknown, who have been contributors to who I am and how I am. And this is one of the next things you do. You step into a place of honoring your ancestors. Honor your father and your mother, for this is right. And you honor them not only in their living form, kids out there, you disrespectful little fucks, like you honor them now. You honor them, and sometimes the way that you honor a father or a mother that did not do you right, that did not raise you right, that did not love you, that abandoned you, that didn't show you the way, that abused you, that was not an example, a protector, a provider, or a nurturer, someone who was struggling with their own suffering. The way that you honor them is you do better, you live better, you stand as an example, you step into the light, you work on your shadow, you walk the path that is rising up underneath your feet. That is one of the ways that you can honor, is you can be like, I'm the one who's going to stop the cycle of abuse in my family. I'm the one who's going to stand up and champion what is right, because there is a right and there is a wrong. And loss is fundamental to our existence. Loss is the clearing out of, if you are a farmer, or you know someone who is a farmer, or if you happen to live anywhere that has seasons, you'll understand that loss is part of the cycle of death and rebirth. Our lungs, in fact, are doing it right now. The inspire, to have spirit within us, and expire, to release and to let go, and the in-breath and the out-breath. And so after you feel that place of like devastation, the fields have been burned, the town has been bombed, the relationship has fallen apart, and for sure you know you're never going to be able to pick up the phone again and just call and be like, what was that recipe? Where did I leave my keys? Remember that time we did this thing? Your history keeper is now truly in the halls of history and is being kept alive through your memory. So in Spanish tradition, in Mexican tradition, they have Dia de Muertos, which is the Day of the Dead, and we celebrate it right around All Hallows Eve, the day after, actually. And there's 3 deaths that are celebrated. The reason that the holiday exists is because the 3 deaths include, first, the death of the body, the transition space where the soul is released from physical form. The second death is the burial, where everyone gathers around and honors the impact that that soul, that life, that body had. And just sitting in that place, really thinking about the funerals that I've been to and how important it is to tell the story of that person. My dad's funeral in South Dakota was particularly interesting because he died I came home for spring break, and he died of a heart attack, and the family all came out, and to know my dad is to know sort of a rebel without a clue, but definitely also brilliant man. And he looked most like the other character in Easy Rider, not Dennis Hopper's character, the other one. And he acted like him too. And so one of my dad and I's last conversations, we all ate breakfast out at the deck, and my mom cooked this beautiful spread, and he was sitting in his Canadian tuxedo, his like jean jacket and his jean pants, and we started talking about the merit of the words fuck and shit and how you can use them in so many different ways, and as adjectives, as verbs, as however, get your shit together, fuck that shit, as a particularly beloved phrase. So being that was one of the last conversations I had with my dad, of course, in my lack of clarity, I guess you could say, during the memorial service, I got up in this small church in Custer, South Dakota with a pastor we really didn't know. We just were able to use the facility. And I said a lot of things about my dad, but the thing I remember most is saying fuck and shit in church. And I feel like it was honoring. I feel like that was a very important moment. So what I want to say is ceremonies can all look very different. They can happen in churches. They can happen in funeral pyres. They can happen at the Ganges. They can, people's bodies do different things. We put my mom in the Yuba River when she passed away, her ashes, and half of her ashes were in South Dakota. Half of her ashes were in the Yuba River because that was her happy place. So the second death, the honoring of that body, of that soul, is so important. And the words that we speak as that soul transitions is important. But the reason the Day of the Dead exists is because there's a third death that happens, and that's when we stop remembering that person. No more stories are told. They fade into limbo, into Hades. No one remembers. So the Day of the Dead is a time to remember, to celebrate, to bring out dishes that person loved, to tell tales, to say remember when, to honor their service. And some of that will be because they were in the military. Others will be because they were famous in the hood that they grew up in. And influence is a funny thing because we all maybe walk around feeling like we're not enough. We're not famous enough. We didn't do enough. But what I see when someone dies is it didn't matter. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or the tale is old and told. It doesn't matter. You were important to one other person. You are important and are important and do have an impact. So honor that. And I want to say that another kind of point is that death teaches you how to live life. Carlos Castaneda always said, death is our ally. It sits at our shoulder and reminds us, live now, live right now. And people do that in so many different ways. But is your life vibrant? Is it colorful? Can you taste your food? When's the last time that you just sat still without being busied with one thing, like turning on the TV or listening to your iPod or getting on your phone or participating in electronics or deciding I have to lose 10 pounds, I have to gain 10 pounds, I have to be different than I am in this particular moment? Live now. Live now, live in those still small voice inside of you is where God resides, and He is trying to speak to you and tell you, I have a plan and a purpose for you. You are anointed. You are an anointed child of God. Walk with me. Walk with me. And in that poem Footprints, there was two sets of footprints, but then there was only one because God carried you. There are times that you're not going to understand what to do next, and He's going to carry you on. He's going to carry you forward. And now might be that time as you're grieving the loss of what was, or you're grieving the loss of what could have been, or you're wishing for something other than what is in this moment. Know that the Spirit of the Lord is on you, and it's all you have to do is take a breath and know, be still, and know that I am God, that I am here with you. I will not leave you, nor I will forsake you. And so as this process of grief starts to sweep through your life, and it starts to clear out that which no longer serves you, it's going to give you a sense of clarity and vision and focus. That job was holding you back. The people that were around you didn't understand that you were here. You were called according to a purpose. And that purpose is rising up inside of you through this process called loss. It often teaches us where our lives are out of balance, where dis-ease, imbalance is. Grief can be, and loss can be, one of our greatest allies and our greatest teachers. In that, it shows us where excess has risen up in our life, or where we have believed the lie of lack for too long. So know that in this place, as whatever is happening, if you are in a place of just tension, tightness, sorrow, absolute despair, confusion, just not knowing what to do next, these are the steps that you take to move forward. The first is you do nothing. You just stop. Just stop. Stop it. Stop whatever thought. Stop whatever is going on. Even the possession of wanting to kill yourself and end your own life and end the suffering in this place, if that is coming over you, just stop, and pause. And don't fill the space. Just listen. Just listen. The tide will rise. The tide will fall. You can't stop nature. The moon will shine in all of its cycles, and it will hide as a sliver in the sky as a time of wishes and renewal, and it will come back to being full again. So know you may be the sliver of the moon right now, but the sun will shine fully on you and you'll be full again. And the next is you step into a place of faith, a place of knowing that there's already a you that is stronger, smarter, more beautiful, radiant in your beauty, meaning it's not contingent on your physical form, that already exists in a dimension beyond your imagination. And it's your job to wake every day and to take one incremental step at a time to move towards that particular energy. It exists. It already exists. It exists. It already exists. You exist. It already exists. All you want is already taking shape. That which you seek is seeking you. So now let love start to mend. Love has always been here. It is especially here in those moments of despair and loss, reminding you with its sweet call, I've never left you. Divine Mother, thou and I are never apart. Thou and I are never apart. That you're a part of this whole, that whether you live in Asia, North America, on any of the wonderful, beautiful continents, that you are part of this system, this solar system, this mystery, this learning curve we call life. Be humble. Be humble in this place. For your thoughts and your ideas matter. And they're manifesting either good or evil. I charge you to be on the side of the light. And rise up stronger tomorrow and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And the thing that you are warring against in this moment, time, will surely be your friend. It will hold your hand and it will say, for all you've lost, I will return even more. The reward is great for the warrior who does not shirk his battles. The reward is great for the monk who sits quietly on the hill. The reward is great for the mother who gives her life for her child, in that vanity is not the most important of values. Now is your time to breathe deeply and to understand that you're not alone. I mean this in a very pragmatic sense, in that there are healers everywhere practicing the modalities of Reiki, of chakra balancing, of singing crystal bowls, of essential oils, of nature walks, of storytelling, of listening. There are therapists that have taken years of their life to understand the spiritual arts, the secret schools, the Gnostics, that go beyond the dictates of insurance and this superficial structure that has been provided by this government machine. There are the magicians, those who can weave magic into your life. You're not alone. They're here for you to help you take the next step and come to the next level in your life, to give you insight and understanding to all that's already inside of you. Hidden doors yet to be open, answers to live into. Many of them exist here in Encinitas, California, as well as Boulder, as well as Asheville, North Carolina, as well as pockets up in Washington, in Portland. There's tribes now walking the earth, ushering in this new consciousness, this rising where we understand impermanence. The body is only but a moment in time. It is God's way of smiling, using your eyes and your breath and your sinew and your flesh and your bone to bring something, to bring consciousness and awareness into this place. So grieve, dear soul, grieve, but know you're not alone. Know that there are tears being wept across the world, and there are joyous faces coming together in reunion on the other side. Know that when a soul leaves a body, it goes through a transition. It goes through a time of reviewing what was and releasing of the karma. Om Swaha, Om Swaha, Om Swaha. I release my karma. I release my karma. So, in listening to this, I hope that you found a place of peace, and I invite you to sit or to lie in a comfortable position and just to let go, to find that place of surrender, to know you couldn't control it anyway, as much as you want to. You can contribute a verse. You can contribute, but not control. So begin your ritual now. Take out pictures that are part of the history you made with this person, or start a new resume, a new mission statement for where you're going next in your life. Imagine it, honor it, step into ritual in this moment, pull out your candles, your crystals, whatever it is, cook that meal, and come into the space until you fully feel the surrender and the grace that has been given you by the clearing that is happening. Thank you so much for listening. This is Rebecca Freedom. You can connect with me directly and get the help you need to curry across this transition in your life at RebeccaFreedom.com, REBEKAH freedom.com. Je t'aime, te amo, I love you.